How you guys doing? Hopefully having a great day. And before you for just a few moments, it's been uh, I have to say a wild couple of days around sports. I will be focusing on the NFL with this episode. You know, kind of this free agency period in the NFL. Yesterday was the franchise tag deadline. The word already about some of the quarterbacks. Geno Smith got signed. Respect that. Happy for him. Derek Carr signed. Good for him. You've been hearing rumblings about Aaron Rodgers being with the Jets. You all know how I feel about Aaron Rodgers. Whatever. The spotlight has been put on one quarterback in particular, though. I mean, you saw it at the title, Lamar Jackson. So we learned he wasn't franchise tagged. Sorry, he was franchise tagged. It wasn't the exclusive tag. Instead, he was tagged non-exclusive, I guess tag you would say. So that means he's now allowed to go out, shop himself, because we know he represents himself, he and his mother. Shop himself to teams to see if he could get that fully guaranteed deal. See if that's out there. Because we know Baltimore's not going to give it to him. So he's hoping that all he needs is one team. One team that's in need of a quarterback. Obviously wouldn't think any of the quarterbacks coming out this year would be better than Lamar, or they'd be in a position to take the guy that they want. So you'd have an opportunity, offer Lamar a massive contract. In return, you'd have to give up 2 first-round picks to Baltimore for the non-exclusive tag. Now, Baltimore, of course, would get the chance to match it, but obviously if the team offered Lamar a fully guaranteed, there's no chance Baltimore's going to match it. Otherwise, they would have offered Lamar a fully guaranteed deal. That is one way to look at it. Second way would be that they do match it because they were hoping they wouldn't have to go fully guaranteed for Lamar in order to keep him. Third, they put the non-exclusive tag. They put a hard line in the sand. What their offer is. If a team offers, $1 more than what they offered, they let Lamar walk. They take the 2 first-round picks. Now, the timing of this will factor into that because if it happened after this year's draft, the 2 first-round picks would obviously be 2024, 2025. If it happens before the draft, Baltimore gets 2023 and 2024. That does factor in. As a team offering Lamar a contract, you have to have first-round picks in those drafts. I believe the only 2 teams that don't have a first-round pick this year are the Niners and the Dolphins, I believe. The Dolphins don't have theirs because of the tampering violation. The Niners don't have theirs because of a trade. I can't remember who, but if those 2 teams wanted to get involved, they'd either have to make a deal for a first-round pick this year that they would then trade to Baltimore. Wait till after the draft, then that way they're only on the hook for first-round picks 24 and 25, like I said before. But all that out of the way, a lot of people are looking at the situation with a elevated level of interest to see what happens, how it all plays out. My firm belief is for Baltimore, they've made their contract offer. I feel like that's the value they place on Lamar. That's what they want to sign him at. So by letting Lamar go out there, they're hoping Lamar doesn't find a deal that blows him away compared to the Baltimore deal. Let's say, I don't know, it's Atlanta or somebody. Let's say Baltimore offered like 5 years, I don't know, 200, 125 guaranteed. Like I said, I don't know the number, but let's just throw that out there. He goes to Atlanta. Atlanta goes, we'll give you 5 years, 200, 126 million. At that point, Lamar would have to decide, would it be worth $1 million more to go play in Atlanta, where they're probably further away from being a Super Bowl team as compared to Baltimore, depending how you feel about that. Fine, Baltimore could be like, okay, even if we had to match the million more, whatever. But let's say he goes to Carolina, a team that has a top 10 defense, has a new offensive minded coach, possibly feels like they could do some things in a weak division, NFC, a lot of uncertainty. Let's say they blow Lamar out of the water, offer 200 fully guaranteed. Lamar signs the offer sheet. Baltimore looks at it and goes, "Yeah, we're good." Worst case, they get 2 first-round picks. They now start the clock over again. Most likely they would draft a quarterback at some point this year. Start that rookie 5 years window. Try to build around that person, and then see where it goes. Lamar's end, this past season, he was betting on himself. This is like the overtime period of him betting on himself. He goes out there, he doesn't like what he hears. Then he kind of maybe he gets humbled by what the league thinks about him. Not saying he's like an arrogant guy or anything like that, but maybe he went into this year overvaluing himself. He learns what his value is, move on from this, and he just gets back on the field, plays whatever. Now, a lot of people will look at this and say, are the owners like conspiring against Lamar? Possibly. We already heard a lot of the owners are upset with Cleveland for doing what they did with Deshaun Watson. The league is not a fan of making a bunch of fully guaranteed contracts because of the injury risk in football. Teams don't want to be on the hook for guys who can't play, even though they probably should be fully guaranteed because of the injury risk, but that's the world we're in right now. So now they felt like the Deshaun Watson thing threw the whole quarterback market out of whack. At a certain point, the owners are going to have to fight back, I guess, with whatever player it was to try to change it back. Because if you have Watson at a certain number, let's say Lamar right off the bat got that number for Baltimore. Now that's the new number one quarterback number. Then when Hurts comes up, Herbert, guys like that, they have to get more than that, and then get to the point where the quarterback number is so high. How do teams build around them? I do think that is kind of a factor in all of this. So I would be shocked if Lamar necessarily found a fully guaranteed deal. Will teams look at, well, I doubt they would do that, but looking at Derek Carr, Daniel Jones, I didn't mention, was another quarterback who got paid. Would a team use those as a baseline in terms of an offer for Lamar? I don't know. It's an interesting story. If you ask me, when I just said that, I was about to say I see Lamar going somewhere. Could this all be some really wide roundabout way for him to end up back in Baltimore after he goes out there, finds out the deal he necessarily didn't want, that he necessarily wanted, isn't out there, he goes back to Baltimore? Might be a little awkward for a little bit, but maybe that's what happens. It's an interesting I guess occurrence that's going on. Is it the owners fighting back to try to stop the quarterback market from getting too far ahead of them? If that's the case, then Lamar, unfortunately, when it comes to free agency, timing is usually everything. He may have just been the wrong guy at the wrong time, the wrong free agent year. Now, I've been one of those who's been, I guess, somewhat critical of Lamar Jackson's game. I'm also not going to sit here and say that he's a, scrub or something. I don't know if I would give him fully guaranteed because past 2 years, been injured at the end of the year. That is something that I would consider. But once again, we don't know what Baltimore offered him. Maybe Baltimore offered him a fair deal. He just looked at it and said, I could get more. Fine. Now, the other aspect to this, which, if you saw me on Sports Empire Network last night, my guy Gene, he came on the show and he said, this is also holding up Baltimore from really doing anything in free agency, which is a very good point. Because until they saw the Lamar Jackson situation, how did they approach free agents? Come to Baltimore. We'll figure it out with Lamar, but you come on, just trust us. No player's going to sign for that. Because what if on the off chance they mess up with Lamar, he's not there, now you're signing in Baltimore to be with Snoop Hundley. Yes, he's a Pro Bowl quarterback, but let's be honest, he's not a starting quarterback in this league. All right, there, said it. Now, can Baltimore make a promise that, they're going to draft quarterback X in the first round? They're planning on Lamar leaving. Whatever first round pick they get, they'll take so and so. Once again, no free agent would sign off on that because there's no guarantee. That's an underlining story to all this. The next part is, if I'm a team that's interested in Lamar, do I do it now, give up my first round pick this year and next year? Do I try to play the waiting game, hope nobody else offers anything before the draft, wait till after the draft, then jump into the Lamar sweepstakes? Which, if that's what happens, you tell me Baltimore's got to wait till after the draft to try to do anything in free agency. They may be picking from, I don't want to say scratch because it makes it seem like, but picking from a much smaller free agent pool. Maybe they won't be picking from, players that they necessarily want, but just to fill needs, they have to sign certain players. So I think it's fascinating what's going on in this story. On the surface, it's just about where's Lamar going to end up, but there's so many other layers to the story. What can Baltimore do in the meantime while they wait out to see what Lamar decides? Is there a team that's going to jump up, offer Lamar, an offer he can't refuse at the risk, depending on what their current situation is, of blowing a top 10, top 15 first round pick in a draft that's seen as pretty deep? Does this get dragged on past the draft? The draft is what? The end of, is it April? That's a long time for Lamar Jackson to just be sitting out there playing the waiting game. If he has to go back to Baltimore, would he hold out next season? Like if he goes back, let's say he just goes back, signs the tag for the 1 year, tells himself, next year we'll go through this again. That's a big risk, of course, because if he gets hurt a third year, then his value goes down even more around the league. So I cannot wait to see where this goes. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Where do you think Lamar Jackson ends up? Is he back in Baltimore? Throw a team out there if you think he goes somewhere else, because I do think there are teams that should be interested, even though we saw the report about, Falcons, blah, blah, blah. Team A, B, C, and D say they're not pursuing them. I don't buy any of that. Washington should be in it. The Falcons should be involved. Carolina should definitely be involved. I mean, Tampa Bay's in, cap purgatory, but if they found a way to clean all that up, why wouldn't they get involved? The whole NFC South, other than Derek Carr being there, question marks all over the place in that division in terms of quarterback position. if San Francisco could find a way, they, they should take a meeting. I wouldn't be mad at that. Miami, because of the health concerns of Tua, although I'm never going to advocate for anybody to go to Miami, can't stand them, but why not? If I'm the Jets, instead of putting all my eggs in Aaron Rodgers' basket, I'd probably take Lamar over Aaron. I mean, not probably. Don't be disrespectful. I would take Lamar over Aaron Rodgers right now. All these people who were like, "Oh, Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets." Blah, blah, blah. This is the same Aaron Rodgers we've seen fail time and time again in the playoffs. Now, Lamar's not exactly Tom Brady in the playoffs. He only has one playoff win, but at least he's younger. He's not as big. He's not a head case. I don't even know if that's the right term necessarily, but he's not as big of a distraction as Aaron Rodgers. Because Aaron Rodgers, we know, every offseason, drama, during the season, drama. Don't need it. For all we've seen with Lamar, when he's on the field playing, you don't hear anything from him. He's not controversial in any way. He doesn't, stir up the pot or anything like that. So, yes, I definitely will be keeping an eye on this. Whenever we hear anything that's, I guess, episode worthy, come back and do another one about any news that breaks in terms one way or the other in terms of Lamar Jackson. For right now, like Lamar, we are all in a holding pattern to see what happens. But like I said, let me know down in the comment section what you think. Where do you think he ends up? I really appreciate you tuning in. You already know what to do. Hit the like button, subscribe, share, notification bell, all that good stuff. Also, if you are on Facebook, I have a new group page for the podcast, Chomping at the Bit. If you see it on there, join. Have a lot of fun on there. I throw up polls every once in a while. I'll throw up, questions. Really trying to get the interaction going. I have some of my people from Sports Empire Network who have joined the page already, so would definitely love for you to do that as well. But once again, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Be safe out there. God bless. I'll catch you in the next episode. All right. Have a good one.